It's safe to say that a lot of people on the internet have had a lot of fun with the Jason R. Day story. It's extremely entertaining. It's basically a bottomless pit of nonsense and fairy tales, allegedly. Treating it as a joke kind of ignores the serious part. The serious part is not only the potential academic fraud, but also the impact on students. Beyond Jason R. Day, you've got the risk that you don't just get fantasists being employed in academia, you get genuinely dangerous people being employed. For example, meet Farah Ahmed, Jason R. Day's colleague. So this is the Spectator on August the 11th, 2026. After the Jason R. Day disaster, here is new evidence that things have gone deeply wrong at Cambridge University. We can reveal that a former supporter of foreign naughty people, I'm not even going to pretend to try and pronounce it, now banned as a terror group, has been appointed Assistant Research Professor of Education at Cambridge, in the same faculty as R. Day. Farah Ahmed has explicitly attacked Western education as a threat to Muslims, condemned democracy and integration. So she's come to our country, she's taken a job in our education system, and she says she does not want to integrate into our society. Furthermore, she's criticised British schools for teaching pupils that child marriage is wrong. Imagine if a white person said that. Imagine someone who is not a member of a minority group advocating for child marriage. What would happen then? But a Muslim does it, a minority does it, and it's totally fine. There are no consequences. During her time at Cambridge, she has written that the Islamic concept of education is sharply opposed to gaining literacy and numeracy. Islamic education is sharply opposed to gaining literacy and numeracy. So this is not my idea, this is her idea. She is suggesting that education is not about reading and writing. So, what is it about exactly? These statements are part of her long record of bigoted, extremist, and separatist views on education. In her Undesirable Foreigners pamphlet, Education and Identity, originally written in 2002, republished in 2017, and obtained by The Spectator, Ahmed writes, "The Muslim community as a whole in Britain needs to recognise that Western education is a threat to our beliefs and values." Who is our in that case? Who is our? Well, I imagine that it's Muslims. She sees herself as a Muslim. She doesn't see herself as British, as a Westerner. She primarily sees herself as a Muslim, as a member of that group. She attacks schools' attempts to integrate Muslim children. Again, integration is a bad thing in her point of view, as seeking to produce new generations that reject Islam. If society is built on unbelief, it is our duty to tackle this challenge as a community. Again, our Muslims' duty to tackle this challenge as a community in order to protect our young from its corruption. So, its corruption, it's Western society. She's saying that Western society is corrupt. So, why is she here? Why is she taking a job at Cambridge University, supposedly one of the best institutions in the Western world? Why is she taking a job with that organization if she thinks that Western society is corrupt? Ahmed is now responsible for postgraduate research in education at Britain's top university. In her chapter in the 2002 pamphlet, Ahmed criticizes the national curriculum as a form of systematic indoctrination to build model British citizens who will seek to actively take part in the implementation of the secular capitalist system in British society. Secularism. Having spent some time in Muslim countries, my experience is that Muslims either hate or don't understand the concept of a secular society. One of the great achievements of the West is to see society and religion as related, but somewhat separate things as well. Muslims don't really understand this separation. Muslims don't really understand how secularism has contributed to the success of the West. At best, they hate it, like this woman seems to hate secularism. Naturally, such a system will not be suitable to the needs of Muslim students, as the belief system of the Muslim is in complete contradiction to this. Yeah, so Muslims don't separate religion and society in the same way that Westerners do. A lot of Muslims don't understand this. A lot of Westerners refuse to accept this. She attacks British schools for teaching that polygamy or marriage under the age of 16 is archaic and discriminatory to women. So, presumably, she thinks it's okay. Again, imagine a white person saying this. What would happen to them? She also attacks British schools for telling children that democracy is the only way that laws should be created. Democracy, she says, is a corrupt tradition. I mean, democracy is not really working in the West right now, but I would suggest you have a look at Western societies and then have a look at Muslim majority countries and decide for yourself which is doing better. Worst of all, religious tolerance is primarily pushed in religious education, meaning that Islam is taught as a religion like any other, putting its value on the same level as Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, Sikhism, and the like. She's a Muslim, which inherently means she is a religious supremacist, and therefore the idea of equality between religions seems to disgust her. Nor does academic study escape Ahmed's censure. English, she writes, is one of the most damaging subjects a school can teach. Fairy tales reflect secular, again, secularity is a problem for Muslims. They don't understand it, they don't like it, they don't see the role that it has played in the success of the West. Secular and immoral beliefs which contradict the viewpoint of Islam. Romeo and Juliet advocates disobeying parents and premarital relations. Science is a problem too, because in the teaching of evolution, Muslim children will be exposed to ideas that contradict Islam, and in any subject, boys and girls may be asked to work together. Oh my God, the world will end. What will they do if boys and girls are asked to work together? As Muslim parents, we try to protect our children from the rubbish that Western society encourages. The rubbish that Western society encourages. I think her view of the West, of the country that she lives in and she works in, is pretty clear. But interaction with non-Muslim children in the playground, which is full of the competitiveness and individualism that Western culture encourages, molds their personalities away from Islam. This is a really interesting quote. Western culture is playground culture. Maybe I'll have to unpack that another time. I'm not entirely sure how I feel, but I think that's a really interesting comment. Ahmed first came to public attention in 2009 when I exposed the fact that she was running two private primary schools and getting more than £100,000 in public money to do so. At least 3 of the 4 trustees of the schools were undesirable foreigner members or activists. So, just to be clear, this is a banned organization. It was only banned in 2024, something like that. And she hasn't been a member of it since perhaps 2010. So, I would, if I haven't already, I would just like to make clear she was a member of this organization. She hasn't been for 15 years, something like that. So people do change. Could the assistant professor perhaps have mended her ways since the publication of her pamphlet? Could she now have embraced the values of the corrupt society which pays her wages? In December 2023, Ahmed and Cambridge University also organised a conference to unlearn conventional teacher education and move towards Islamically grounded teacher development. Why in a Western country would we care? Why would we be interested about Islamically grounded teacher development? That might be appropriate in Muslim countries. Muslim countries can do whatever they want. I don't really care. But in the West, why would we want to do this? This attacked the secular neoliberal system of education as anti-metaphysical, whatever that means, and said that teachers need to recenter our focus on preparing the Muslim learner for the everlasting life after death. Again, Muslim countries want to do this. That's totally fine. I have no idea why the University of Cambridge would be spending taxpayer money in a Western country on this. Then she talks about the IELC, which is the Islamic Educator Learning Community. I believe she's a director of this. She says many Muslims openly participate in celebrating Christmas and warns that repeated exposure to non-Muslim festivals can lead to normalization. Without clear teaching, children may begin to associate happiness, generosity, and togetherness with non Islamic celebrations instead of the occasions Allah has chosen for this Ummah. So, the Ummah, I believe, all Muslims. So, if you're a Muslim, come and live in a Western country. Don't integrate, don't take part in their dirty white man festivals. I don't know why Cambridge University would employ this person. They just seem full of hatred for Western culture. What are they exactly contributing? What does Cambridge think that she is contributing to the Western world? I don't see it. Here is her website, Farah Ahmed, educator, academic, and activist. She is translating classical Islamic educational thought into contemporary classroom practice. Just to show that this is the same person, I am an assistant research professor at the Faculty of Education, University of Cambridge. So this is the kind of thing that she does, reorienting education in Muslim contexts towards awe and wonder. Also, she does something called Cambridge Dialogues, an innovative international academic network in the emerging field of Islamic education studies. She works on online educator professional development, a learning community of Islamic educators, anyone working in or teaching Muslim learners from 3 to 18 years. So Islamic stuff, and then over here, Islamic stuff as well. She's also involved in something called the Shakshia Education Consultancy. So this word here is something like personality or personal development or something like that. So it asks, looking for an Islamic-centric, holistic, integrated curriculum for ages 3 to 14 years. Why would someone in the UK be looking for this? Why would anyone in the Western world be wanting an Islamic-centric curriculum? Wouldn't she be better off in the Middle East? It's an Islam-infused curriculum. If we go back to the top and we have a look at the About Us part and click on About Our Founder, we go back to her personal website that we've already looked at. If we have a look at her entry on Google Scholar, so again, Farah Ahmed, Assistant Research Professor, University of Cambridge, Islamic education here, exploring whatever this is, a tentative approach to developing Islamic research. Why not write it in English? Educating for identity, culturally coherent pedagogy for Muslim children in Britain. Again, why are you transliterating? You're at Cambridge, why not write in English? Rethinking contemporary schooling in Muslim contexts. Authority, autonomy, and selfhood in Islamic education. A transformative Islamic dialogic pedagogy. Got teaching Islam. Are there pedagogical limits to critical inquiry? Devising an Islamic approach to learning and teaching. Reorienting ourselves towards educating from within an Islamic worldview. Why would we want people at Cambridge educating from within an Islamic worldview? I mean, this is a person who is wholly subsumed by their religious identity. What are they contributing to British culture? Absolutely nothing. They're completely sectarian. They're working on advocating for their own people, which is completely fine. If she wants to work for Muslims, create stuff for the benefit of Muslims, that's completely fine. Why is she doing it with British taxpayer money? I don't know why we tolerate people like this. I mean, again, she was a member of this organization and she maybe left it in 2010 and it didn't become illegal until 2024. So maybe she's changed. Maybe she's completely different. Maybe she loves the West now and she's completely integrated. Who knows? Let's have a look at the Undesirable Foreigners organization. Again, the academic we've been speaking about, she was a member of this organization until about 2010, and she hasn't been a member since that time. So I'm not saying that she shares this organization's views. There are two completely separate things, but I think it's worth looking at the organization and what they think. So this is five pillars. What are Muslims thinking? March 2026, Australia bans undesirable foreigners with support punishable by 15 years in jail. So, the Islamic political party, which campaigns for the return of the Khalifa, I presume that means the Caliphate, will now be prohibited as a hate group, meaning those who recruit for, provide training, funds, or material support will be considered in breach of the new laws. So, they've also been banned in Britain, I think around 2024, after they expressed support for October the 7th. They've been banned in numerous places, and for good reason too. Yes, so it's been banned and prescribed as a terror organization in numerous countries, including the United Kingdom, Germany, Turkey, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all Arab countries except Lebanon, Yemen, and the UAE. There's a general acceptance from Australians there is a level of hatred and dehumanizing language that does provide a pathway for violence. So he believed their rhetoric, their hatred, was providing a pathway for others to be engaging in violence and thought it was a real risk. Many Muslims are unhappy about this, so concern over new draconian laws. A statement released in January 2026 by over 26 Islamic groups around the pending hate speech bill said the following areas were most problematic: new racial vilification offences. I wonder what they might be. A new hate listing regime. Does that mean the prescription, the banning, changes to visa requirements, and changes to gun ownership? In short, everything that restricts the speech and conduct of white Australia has been shelved or is being renegotiated. The part that strips the Muslim community of its rights will still be rammed through Parliament. So let's have a look. What do the Muslim community want? So, Undesirable Foreigners, founded in 1953, the group advocates the establishment of a global Islamic caliphate covered by Islamic law, so Sharia law, and seeks to unite Muslim majority countries under a single political system. Right. So are we saying a global caliphate? Are we saying Muslim majority countries? Because you can't have both. That's not a logical consistency. So this is the goal of a now banned organization. But as far as I know, this is what all Muslims want. So Muslims want everybody to be Muslim, and they want a theocracy. They want religious government, a single world government. So this is extreme in kind of Western terms, but in Muslim terms, I think this is kind of a mainstream idea, surely. I mean, I could be wrong, but based on my extensive interactions with Muslims, many of them want a global caliphate. It's not extreme as such within the context of Islam. Undesirable Foreigners says it pursues its goals through political and ideological work rather than armed struggle. If you want something horrible, just because you're not being physically violent doesn't make it less horrible. I mean, I don't want a global Islamic caliphate. So I don't care if you're only doing political and ideological work. This is still a completely undesirable thing. So why does it matter that you're only talking about it, that you're not being physically violent? Critics and several governments accuse it of promoting extremist views and undermining democratic system. I mean, like I say, extremist, I think this is a mainstream Islamic position. Extremist in terms of the West, yes, absolutely it is. Here's another example of what the Undesirable Foreigners say. So ABNA is apparently a Iranian organization, so take it with a pinch of salt. Danish ministers Sharp reaction, 11th of August 2026. The release of a video by undesirable foreigners in Denmark addressing Muslim youth on the eve of the new high school academic year has sparked a wave of political and media controversy. Denmark's Minister for Immigration and Integration, in a Facebook post reacting to undesirable foreigners, wrote in a sharp tone, "This is not the Denmark we love. Why don't you just leave Denmark? Yes, leave Denmark. Leave Britain. Leave the West, please." He made these remarks after undesirable foreigners published a message titled, "Stand by your Islamic identity and carry it with pride." Danish media DR, which has seen the letter, quoted part of its context. So this is what undesirable foreigners, the banned in many countries Islamic organization, is saying. Many of you will encounter a youthful environment where behaviors, norms, and lifestyles that are not in line with Islam are presented as a natural or desirable choice. So many of you will encounter a youthful environment where Danish culture happens. Danish culture, Danish behaviors, Danish norms, and lifestyles are not in line with Islam. You are a Muslim. This is something you should be proud of. It is never something to apologize for or compromise on. So the Undesirable Foreigners organization says you should never compromise on your Muslim values. You should never integrate with the host country. How is having people like this in the UK going to work out in the long term? I'm just not sure that these people can contribute to other communities. I mean, they're clearly very interested in their own values and their own community,